Hello and welcome to another video. And in my first video, I talk about my minimalist VS Code setup, right, where I share all the extensions, the theme, and tools that I use, right. So in this video, someone asked me, that was 2 weeks ago, brother, can you give me a JSON file for changing to this VS Code look? So here you go, and then I gave him my VS Code configuration, so which I have right here. So in this video, I'm just going to walk you through how I set up the VS Code configurations, and also I've already shared this, so I'm going to add this to I'm going to share the link to this VS Code configuration on GitHub on the description of this video on YouTube. Okay, so let me walk you through how my current VS Code is set up, because ever since the last time I made this video, I have updated my VS Code, right? I've added some new features, make it look much nicer to my preference actually, right? So just in case you like how I set it up, you can also have access to my configuration files. Right, so this is basically how my VS Code look right now. This is just a basic Laravel application showing you how it looks like. So I can one of the most new thing that I think I added that I like the most is this. So this command palette, before now it was at the top, right? So the command palette, I moved it to this middle and then added some sort of box shadow around it. So I'm going to walk you through how I did all of this in this video. All right, so before then, how am I achieving that? So there are new VS Code extension that I have installed, right? Before now, I was making use of an extension called APC Customize UI++. Yeah, I think this extension, this one right here. I was making use of this extension until VS Code just released a new version, and then this entire extension broke. It stopped working, right? So I started looking for other option on how I can start loading my own custom CSS to customize my VS Code to customize my VS Code actually. So what I needed to do is I now saw this new extension which is called custom CSS and JS loader. All right, so this is the extension I'm currently using to load my custom CSS to style my VS Code, right? So I think that's the only thing that's changed. I'm still using my preferred theme, which is called the Nord. Where are you? So I'm still using this theme. I think I prefer this theme, and I'm still using the font that I'm using is Z Mono, right? So let me just show you my config. So VS Code config. So this is the configuration file, right? I just updated this. So this is my setting.json. Make this big. Okay, great. All right, good. So my settings on JSON, I have the font family that I'm using, which is Z Mono. I think I've walked you through all of this. So I want to take you to the most important part. Is the custom VS Code CSS importer. So this is where I imported this CSS and also this JavaScript. So the JavaScript is the guy that is responsible for me to, like, let's say for example, I want to on the command palette, or even if I even want to switch between folder or between files, right? So I get this kind of like anything that kind of like pop up in the windows of the browser, right? So I get that. So it is actually this extension, this where are you? This extension, yes, custom CSS and JS loader, is this extension that is allowing me to load those custom CSS that gives me all of this stuff. So there is JavaScript as well, which JavaScript allows me to customize. Let's just see the code. No, anyways, if I come to custom css.css, custom VS Code.css actually. So if I come there, you see the CSS styles that I've written to override the default behavior of VS Code, right? Good. So this is where I'm having that blur effect. So this blur effect, right, is just a command that I am using to overlay anytime I have the command palette, right? So just put it behind the command palette, put this blur behind the command palette. So I'm going to show you that in the JavaScript right now. And this is the command palette, right? This is the command palette that pop up, right? And this is the font, sorry, the input inside the command palette. So if I should try to, that's why I style this input, I style this command palette to, to look like this, to push it from this top to this middle. And when I'm typing, it should not bounce, right? So it's fixed to a specific place, right? So that's how this is where I kind of like achieve all of that. And then the block as well. So you're going to have all of this in my VS Code configuration file that I'm going to share with you, that I've already shared, is on GitHub right now, but you can see the description, you can see the link to that on my VS Code, on my YouTube, this video's description. Geez, making video is hard. Okay, great. What else? So then toggling stuff, right? Remember the last time I told you that on my VS Code, let me just switch cover over to here. Told you the last time on my VS Code that I can toggle in everything. So I kind of like have key bindings, my own custom key bindings that allows me. I do make use of the default key bindings that come with VS Code, right? I've kind of like built my muscle memory to, to get used to those. Like for example, toggling in this menu bar, like Command B will hide it, and then if I want to open up my Git, I can just say Control Shift G, open up Git, right? Then Control Command E, sorry, Shift Command E to come back to File Explorer and all of that. If I want to search, I just come over here and say I just say Shift Command F to to search, Shift Command E to. So I've already gotten those key bindings. But now, how do I toggle in line number? Like if you notice, I can toggle this line number in and out, right? How did I achieve that, right? I showed the extension that I use in achieving that in my last video. So I'm going to show you how I configure that, right? And as well, I can toggle in the status bar, like this status bar that is in this bottom, right? I can toggle it in and out, so I can just toggle in and out. So what I like is that when I'm coding, I don't want to see most of all these distractions. Sometimes I even went as far as hiding the map, and I can toggle in, I can toggle in the map, right? Do you get, like control M, control M, control M. So kind of like toggle this. Control M will kind of like give me this map, right? And then control M again, I hide it, right? So that's just how I prefer to work, right? So how do I achieve that? So I'm making use of my of this extension. Let's go to the extension, and I'm making use of this extension called setting cycler, which this is the extension, right? So I'm making use of this extension. This extension has been in my VS Code for the longest time, right? I've been using it for a very long time. So I wrote my own custom. So they kind of like give you a description on how to configure it, right? And set it up. I read through this, which is literally very easy to just work with, right? So what I do is I use this extension to toggle in almost those few things that I just mentioned, right? Line number, status bar, and minimap, right? So now these are the configurations. So if I come to key bindings, right, there's a key bindings file, right? So this is where I toggle in, like Command L to toggle in line number, and Command arrow to toggle in status bar, and then Control plus M to toggle up the minimap, right? Now, in order to do this toggling for these guys, I also have a setting. My setting is JSON, which I shared as well. I have it right here. Configure settings, setting cycler, extension to toggle between line number, status bar. So line number, I toggle them by default. It will show, it should be false. Then later on, I can now start toggling off and on. So that is how I do the toggling of my of stuff in in VS Code. So if you want to do the configuration, it's that very simple. Just come to in my own VS Code, like this is my own VS Code. I'll just come to Shift Command, open my command palette, and then type in um, keyboard shortcut, right, which will open up the key binding. Open keyboard shortcut, which is this one. Open keyboard shortcut. If you open that, that is where you now see. By default, if you haven't configured any custom key bindings, what happens is you can now come over here and you set up your key bindings. You just have to add this, right? So once you get access to this key bindings, you just have to copy all you have here and come over here and paste them, right? And paste them, and you are good to go. All right. What else am I going to show? I've already talked about how I make use all the extensions that I use, and you can see like one sec, come to my settings. Right, I talked about the extensions that I use, right? If I scroll down, I make use of DevDB, right, and I've set it up to be able to, when I'm working on an application that requires database like my SQLite, or right, then I can now connect to the database right here in my environment, in my VS Code environment, right? So that is basically everything. So if you have any question on how I set how, or if you need any help on, just drop a message. Or if you have a certain way you configure your VS Code and you really don't like, just drop it in the comment section in this video. I would like to also see how you set up your VS Code. And yeah, I think that will be all for this video. Shaya.